Hello and welcome back to another combos video for the channel. My name is Longshot and today we are covering the Longshot. This is a spring action magazine fed blaster and it does have a bit of tactical potential, but it is a bit underwhelming. We have a barrel attachment point and one top rail. So things can happen, but it is going to be a bit limiting. I'll let you guess what the major sort of attachment theme is going to be for that top rail. So in these combos videos, I go through the three traditional setups, which is heavy gunner style, a close quarters setup, and a long range combo. Then we go into my personal combo and any gimmicks after that. We have one gimmick for this video. I'll let you guess what the theme is. But first of all, we have something in particular to go over. The Longshot comes with two attachments, an amazing scope, which I still think is amazing to this day, and its own barrel attachment, which is a blaster in of itself. I have a rule on my channel with the combo series: if a blaster comes with two or more attachments, that is Nerf's official combo. And it is such an iconic combo. I mean, the way this looks, again, that scope is such a cool shape. That front gun, I think, is host to so many mods. I mean, this is an integration thing in of itself. That handle piece, just the overall shape, it's really cool. So with Nerf's official combo out the way, let's get on with the three traditional classes. Starting off, as always, with the heavy. And it is a bit weird when you look at it like this, especially now that I'm looking at it on camera with myself holding it for the first time. But again, some limitations do kick in, but for what this is, it's a bit simple, but it is wonderful. Up front, we have the Zombie Strike Spike Tooth Barrel, which has its own little extender thingy. Given the orientation of this blaster, I mean, you're going to be holding it like this. Again, it's spring action from the bolt. You can't really do too much with your front hand, so for the sakes of melee, that spike tooth barrel is going to get you some good points. Now you're going to be up all in the face of the enemy, so this shield is going to do you wonders. This is the shield from the Stampede, and it does fit quite well with the long shots because, well, this one in particular, because it is end strike yellow. Ah, the good old days. And speaking of the Stampede, what was supposed to be the 50 dart drum that came with it didn't exist, but it does now. So this is the one that comes with the Titan. I have two of these because I am a selfish git, and I still love this drum magazine. When you are a heavy gunner, the idea is to have lots of ammo. Let me get the shield out my face. So the idea is to have lots of ammo ready to go straight away. You don't really want to reload, you just want to constantly get down cover fire. And big old drum magazines like this are the way to go. So this is, with the shield in my face once again, I can look through the actual gate, no, that's okay. This is my heavy combo. Next, of course, is close quarters. And this is a funky looking rifle. It's a shame this is bolt action, because if this shape was flywheel, I could absolutely dig this. So up front, the barrel we are using is the Mega Dart Blaster barrel attachment that comes with the Tri-Strike. I'm using an 18 dart magazine. This is the fourth one I now have in my collection. It's good to have some more 18 dart stick mags, whilst I do personally prefer drums. But something that kind of fires this slow, that bolt action, it does take a while, if it's, especially if you're using the hand that you use to pull the trigger with as well. So good to have some ammo, but you don't really need that much, which is why the backup magazine I have is only a 6-star one. You could put anything else there if you want. Not necessarily a drum again, because this is more slow firing. And even then, I think that long magazine there with this sort of silhouette looks pretty cool. The scope I'm using is, I believe, from the Modulus ECS 10. It's definitely not something that came with any of the kits, but it's so low down. And looking down it, this is absolutely perfect height. I don't need to kind of lift or lower my head in any way. I'm just looking down sights nice and comfortably. It is wonderful. The backup blaster, as I mentioned earlier, is good because that 4 extra shots are actually quite helpful, because if you, let's say you turn a corner and you see enemies, you got 1 shot, oh, but you need to prime, never mind about that, you got 4 shots ready to go, pumping out straight away. Excellent stuff. Again, I really do love that silhouette. I think it's this sort of drop-off point here. Sadly, you can't really use the bipod. I mean, you can get up to there, but that's not officially in place. I suppose if it still works, then it's not really anything to knock. So this is my close quarters combo. And finally, of the 3 traditional classes, we are left with long range. And it makes sense because this is a sniper after all. This silhouette, especially because of the barrels I've chosen to go with, it really does look like an actual rifle. That silhouette makes it look like a real thing. If you painted all of this in black, maybe you can get away with that, but you know, it's Nerf. Don't actually be too silly with it. I don't know what rifle this actually reminds me of. I want to say something like the AS-50, something like that. It was a rifle that appeared in Modern Warfare 3. I'm going to have to do a bit of research after this because, again, that looks really cool. So the scope, may as well kick off with this because this is a sniper after all, is the good old modulus long-range scope. Just like the previous one, the way it is set up, it is perfectly aligned. I don't need to move my head in any uncomfortable position. My cheek is nice and comfortable here against the stock. It's just really good and it's perfect, especially given the barrel silhouettes as I went on about earlier. So the barrels in particular, the way I have my attachments stored in my box over here, it's always these 3 barrels kept on each other like this, just for the sake of storage. So when I take it off, it's just like that. And I thought, you know what, let's give this a go. And I'm actually quite pleased I went ahead with that because it looks so good. So these 2 are from the regulator. And these are quite interesting because one of them has a top rail, so you could put something else there if you wanted. But underneath are the other rail attachment points. So you could put a rail onto here. So in theory, you could take this one off and put it on top of here because the rail attachment system allows that to happen. That is because when this came with the regulator, these are both supposed to work as barrels and scopes. Barrel scope, you know, is a bit stupid, but even then that's the thing they did. And on the end we have the stealth barrel because it looks like a suppressor of sorts, and again, just the overall look fits so well. Extending out the bipod, let's get the official look. That kind of ruins it personally. That looks so much better. That looks really, really cool. This is my long range combo. And now we move on to my personal combo. Now this is again a bit simple, but it has my favourite scope and my favourite barrel attachments. I think the scope is the one that kind of goes back and forth because my favourite blaster is the regulator, and it previously had this, then it had the vortex scope. I think this is once again my new favourite scope. So this is the Modulus Day-Night Zoom Scope. It is a very cool attachment, a bit expensive, especially if you're going to find one brand new. But for what it is, it's beautiful. It's an amazing piece of kit, and if you don't have one of these, I would personally recommend it, but only if you are a more careful nerfer, someone who kind of takes the hobby more seriously. If you're a younger nerfer or someone who's more careless and you kind of like throw blasters around, that sort of thing, this is not for you. But even then, a really cool piece. And the barrel is the chrono barrel. It is a chronograph and an ammo counter all in one. It is a beautiful piece, and mine is slightly modified. If you can't read it, then that's okay. That's a good thing, I suppose. It's card on there. It's not paint. Recently, I was having some fun with this, and I thought, you know what? I don't like how it's clear. Not anymore. I thought it was a cool thing, and it kind of still is. But because it's clear, it doesn't fit with anything. But so I went ahead and did this to it. I do apologise. Internals are basically all the same. It's just an outer sort of thing. I couldn't bring myself to paint it. I thought to myself, yeah, let's do that. No, let's not do that. Good God. And the magazine is my beloved 50 Dart Drum magazine. This is kind of weird. And I don't think I could use this because if I turn to this side, my arm is kind of striking the edge of the drum here when I go to hold it. But then again, once I've exhausted the ammo from this, I'm probably going to pick up a different blaster. But for what it is worth, this is my personal combo. And now we move on to the gimmick combo for this video, and it is the good old End Strike days. So I think everybody kind of saw this coming. And for what it's worth, it's more of a nostalgia thing, if anything else. Back in the day, the Recon had more attachments, modularity to it, but the Longshot still had some. So at the front we have the Recon barrel and the red laser pointer because these two basically live together. One day in the future, if I get 2 more of these, I'm going to integrate it as one thing because, you know, of course I will. The optics I'm using is the End Strike scope. This came with the Element, if I recall correctly. It has this cool sort of opening door thing. I don't know what kind of functionality it would have, outside of the fact that the door itself has a sort of orange lens to it. So I suppose it's like a visual thing. You can still aim down the sights. It's still, well, I was about to say it's still accurate, but then again, Nerf attachments and their scopes, not really. And on top of that, because this does have a tactical rail, if I can actually get this sight out of my face, the Recon flip scope. Scope, that's a bit generous to call it that. The flip sight. There we go. But yeah, it's another attachment I can squeeze onto here, so let's go with that. Why not? I was going to go with the Raider 35 dart drum, but I'm actually liking the 18 dart stick mags a little bit more. There's only one drum I care for, and it is the 50 dart drum, which I have over there. That wasn't a thing for the End Strike days, but these were. This came with the Stampede, which was also End Strike. So this is the glory days of End Strike. And there we go, that is the end of this combos video. Thank you all ever so much for watching. It is always so much fun to pick up my Nerf blasters and go through my attachments box and just play with my toys, basically. This is still ultimately a toy, and it's so much fun just to be able to play with my accessories. I've said this before in the past, the attachments that come with Nerf blasters is my favourite thing about this hobby. So to increase my attachment collection, just to have blasters that have all the kind of modularity, thinking like the Strife, for example, the Recon, as I mentioned earlier, all those attachment points, it's so much fun. Even with something like the Longshot, even though it has some kind of limitations, it's still fun to play with and do a combos video like this. So thanks again for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next episode. Bye bye.